everybody? It's Flamingo right here, and like I said before, we're gonna be taking a look at two shows from Clamp. And honestly, this is my first time ever talking about something that comes from Clamp of all things. I mean, I did briefly mention another video when I said I have only been met by Holic, but Clamp is actually a group that I've discussed for a while though. If you're not familiar with the group, Clamp is a group of four women who do a lot of manga work for a lot of series. They all have been doing it since the 1980s and the like. And honestly though, despite having a lot of works though, my introduction to them was probably in the weirdest place. As I said before, my introduction to them was from Holic of all things. But yeah, that's really my intro to the group Clamp anyways. And before you say anything, no, I haven't all of their works. Even if I did, it would take a long time though. Ever since the likes in the 1980s, their works have been spiraling for quite a long time for the likes that they've been doing for a while though. And as you can tell from my description alone though, there were tons of works out there that I have been seeing for a while, but they have been coming across it since then. However, after Holic in 2020, when I started watching it, even though that came out years before then, I started watching more of their stuff. Like, say, Code Geass. Okay, more specifically, they worked on the character models and stuff like that, but I think it's about time I talk about something that has been coming to me for a while, though. If you're familiar with Clamp's work, you're probably seeing a lot of their works that are really recycled to be their character models and such like that, though. But even with that said, however, I can't be too mad at them for that, because let's be honest, if anything, they're just trying to create as much works as they can. Unlike Rumiko Takahashi, their works are more divisive than hers, though. Not to say Rumiko Takahashi's works can't appeal to anyone, really, but from what I've seen so far, it seems like both boys and girls can actually get used to Clamp, though. Though it's worth pointing that Clamp only has 2 magical girl shows, while the rest, some of them, while shoujo, can be made into a different type of audience, and others, yeah, there's more stuff than what meets the eye, though. But I want to let you all know, despite Clamp having a lot of works here and there, it doesn't help that, logically, a lot of their works, while they do pretty well for its own tendency, there are sometimes works out there that don't really get as much deserved as they could, though. I mean, sure, every so often you do get to see a good series every now and then, but so many of the shows that do fall into that category do more than what meets the eye, though. And another series that we'll be talking about next time, but this time we're taking a look at one of them that came out afterwards from the first time I've actually wanted to see this here. That show being Cardcaptor Sakura. Now, I'm not sure how many people watch Cardcaptor Sakura growing up, but, well, from what I've seen so far of this series, this was one that I had to watch on Netflix. Although, anyone who's in the US like I am, I would watch it right now because, yeah, Netflix is going to be taking it off of that site. And that's pretty sad, though. But from what I can tell, though, Cardcaptor Sakura is one of the few shows I actually wanted to see for a while. Except, this is one of the weird places where I have to say, it took me half a year to finish this year's series. I know, it's pretty weird because this series, despite lasting for quite some time though, this actually had more than enough episodes for me to actually handle. When how many episodes it had? I swear to God, this is going to peak a lot of mindset though. And yeah, it had about 70 episodes over the span of 3 seasons. Though honestly though, even with that said, however, I haven't seen clear card yet, and it might be a while to do so. Although, while I do like Cardcaptor Sakura, a lot of the fan base seemed to be more divisive on the series regarding of that, though. I'm not sure why that is, though. Maybe it's because of the English dub or something like that along those lines, or for how it's licensed. But really, I could care less about that. But this actually had 2 English dubs. One from Animax, which is the one I saw on Netflix, and which I prefer a lot more of, while the other one was handled by Nelvana. Yeah, this is one case where, well, I do want to see the Nelvana dub for myself in its entirety. I'm not taking any chances on that. Mostly because when I watched one episode, yeah, it's not anything good. It's not the worst dub out there, but dear God, they changed a lot of stuff in there, from chopping some stuff up to make the English dub actors seem a lot older than they should for the characters, and so much more. And it's also worth pointing out that they try to make this into a series made for boys, because as we all know, when you have a show that has cards in it, it has to be for boys. Seriously, I'm not against the idea with boys and girls watching the same thing their shows watch and everything, but why would it just be for boys? Wasn't there another show with cards in it that was aimed at boys? I believe that was Yu-Gi-Oh! Rest in peace to that creator, though. However, around that time, though, Cardcaptor Sakura proved to be a really wonderful surprise to me. Those who grew up with this series already know what's like, but for those who haven't seen it, are probably wondering what's Cardcaptor Sakura. Well, let's take a look at it and find out. This is Cardcaptor Sakura. So if anyone with brain cells could tell you, you're probably thinking this is just your cutesy show, and that's about it, right? Well, chances are there are cutesy stuff here and there, but it's really more than what meets the eye, though. As I said before, Clamp is usually known for having the unpredictable sometimes, so let's go over that right now. The series itself focuses around Sakura Kinomoto, a young little girl who goes to elementary school and, as such, lives with her family, those two being her brother Toya and her father, who works at a university. And unfortunately, she doesn't have her mom with her, though. Although we do get some bit of flashbacks, though I'm not sure if they're canon or not. Yeah. It's also worth pointing out that while still at it, though, after realizing she's doing pretty well for herself at school, she also has a best friend named Tomoyo, who we'll get back to in a bit. As such, though, while still doing whatever she can, though, it's here where she does seem to have something like that. Later on in the first episode, however, she actually discovers a strange book that seems to be glowing for some reason, though. After opening it, it turns out there's a bunch of club cards inside of them. But after saying the word wind, it turns out that the wind decides to blow them all away, while the guardian, Kuro, the mascot character, turns out to be asleep for so many years afterwards, though. It turns out that Kuro was supposed to be protecting the cards, but after they getting blowing away, though, it's only up to Sakura to achieve them back before it's too late, though, because these cards belong to Cloud Reed, who we'll get to a bit later, and as such, though, the series itself falls under the category of what you might think, though. From there, the series does whatever they can to do whatever they can to get the cards back, while still progressing it from there, though. See, this would be the part where I would tell you how many cards were in your show, but really what's surprising to me is how many cards were supposed to be in the manga. See, in the manga, there were 19 cards in total, whereas in the show, you had to have 52 cards. You know, I know that this is probably just me being a little condescending to some people, but I think 52 sounds a lot better than 19. Seriously, though, I mean, 19 cards doesn't even give you a whole lot. But it's also worth pointing out that that's how many it looks like got blown away. It doesn't look like 19 got blown away when watching it for the animated series in itself, though. I mean, yeah, you could say that still means more filler, but honestly, though, the filler we'll get to in a bit later, though. But let's also talk about what makes the series more than what it is, though. Despite the series more into something that's aimed at a girl audience, though, they originally didn't do this in the Nirvana dub. See, in the Nirvana dub, they actually wanted to give the lead role to Sharon, who will be introduced to in a few episodes later afterwards, though. But Sharon is, well, you're coming from someone who didn't like him at first glance, but honestly, over the course of the series, we do get to see more of him to be a lot more likable than what meets the eye, though. It's also worth pointing out that when watching the series, I thought at first that when he was blushing all the time, I thought at first he was just embarrassed because of how much he didn't want to admit that he likes Sakura at first glance. But even with that said, however, this series also had the temerity to do whatever it can, though, while still being whatever it has, though. But of course, this series was heavily edited from the Nirvana dub. See, in the Nirvana dub, they edited 39 episodes and just called it Cardcaptors, because in the series, Cardcaptors basically means a person who captures the cards. And while I admit that is a clever title to give to your series, you do realize Sakura is still the main protagonist. She needs and to be self-aware of that though. But it's also worth pointing out that that's one of the reasons why I never watched the Nelvana dub all the time though, because likely there are so many things that they've done to re-edit it that makes look like Sailor Moon and One Piece and early Dragon Ball look a lot better by comparison, and that's not a that she was likely though. However, going back to the characters, however, we do see a lot of characters throughout the series though. I already mentioned Sakura though, but there's also oh, Hero, who, while he is a mascot character by any means, though, I'm not gonna lie, he does look pretty cute in a stuffed animal kind of way. In fact, the stuffed animal part was probably really much a running gag when watching the series for myself. It's pretty ingenious, but I still love it in spite of all that. And there's also worth pointing out his nickname was Kiro because his real name was Siberius, which he looks more like a lion than anything when doing so already though. Yeah, okay, he's not really a lion, it's just a lion. He's a real large winged mountain lion, and I'm sure that's like a mythical creature, or if anyone has seen Siberius before. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but still. But his true form, if anything, though, does say that he's voiced by Christopher Sabat, and if you're anyone who's seen Dragon Ball or the Funimation dub of One Piece or so many other dubs, you already know Chris Sabat's performance is pretty roaring and everything like that though. Then there's Tomoyo. While she's really known to be Sakura's best friend, believe it or not, she never gets jealous of Sakura when it comes right down to being a card captor. I mean, yeah, you could make the argument that maybe she's just doing this to be a best friend, but she's really a nice friend when you get to see her in the series for yourself, though. But she also makes outfits for Sakura. Yeah, when I first started watching the series, I thought at first that she needed to get her outfit transformed, but no, Sakura actually gets them made by Tomoyo, and I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty sweet. I mean, you could make the argument it's kind of annoying to have Tomoyo bring a camera with her every time, though. This was during the 90s, so it's not like you're expecting to see have a Samsung or an iPhone or anything like that, so you can't really trespass it as that. Though I still have to admit, I do like Tomoyo, even if some people find her weird times. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, Tomoyo is, in my experience, probably a lot better weird than creepy. Seriously, I'd rather have a weird person than creeping out somewhere. Good thing she's not a stalker, or yeah, in the first episode she does surprise Sakura by recording her. Okay, I'm not sure how she got that footage really quickly though, but I gotta say she has a good angle. Then there's Sharon, who, despite being, well, more than he thinks he is though, he's really from China, and really this, besides the fact that he's kind of jealous at some times here and there though, it's really worth noting that he himself doesn't really mind Sakura, but over the course of the series, he does help her out though. And I'm not gonna lie, this is what made the iconic characters from Clamp's universe overall though. Yeah, if you're familiar with Clamp, you already know this, but those who aren't, Cardcaptor Sakura was actually where Clamp's got their start here though. Well, this or X, if anything. Yeah, I haven't seen X 1999. It might be a while to do so, but I do plan on watching it, if only for the most massive divisive reviews I've seen. Then there's Toya, who was who was actually Sakura's brother. And honestly, though, he kind of reminds me of Domiki from Holic in some ways. He's teasing, but still caring enough to help out the protagonist and anytime sooner or later, though. Though it's worth pointing out that he doesn't know anything about Sakura's magic, anything like that, but he does possess magic himself. Like, he has the ability to do whatever he can to protect his friend Yukito. And Yukito, speaking of which, though, is also the one that Sakura and Sharon have a crush on. Okay, I know some people don't like it when I say Sharon if they've actually seen the series, but it's either that or Lee, because they say both in the series. So I'm just gonna go with Sharon because honestly has a better tone for it for me though. And I gotta say though, Yukito, if anything, I don't mind Yukito that much though. Though it's worth pointing out that he has a decisive personality. Yeah, Yukito does start off pretty much of a sweet person who seems to love eating a lot and such. And what's more, he does like to be around Sakura and Toya and their friends and everything. But he also reveals to have some kind of symbolic and stuff, like when he comes to his real form, Yu. Yeah, it's spelled Y-U-E, so if you're getting confused by that, don't worry, that's how his name is spelled. See, Yu is remained to be a state of hibernation, which means that this was his true form, but Yukito is really his false form, if anything to judge by, though. And yeah, that was pretty much a twist right here and there. Then again, this is made by Clamp, so twists and turns come as the series progresses here and there, though. But speaking of characters, though, there was one character I was kind of feeling a bit downside when watching the series. Mei Ling. Okay, let's get this out of the way first. Mei Ling was not in the manga. Not at all. She was an original character for the series. And call me crazy, but I don't really care for Mei Ling as much as I thought I would be doing at times. I mean, let's get this out of the way. She's Sharon Lee's cousin, and what's more, she's, well, I hate to be this person who has to go into this, but she has a crush on him regardless of that. Yeah, this is one point where I have to point out something. I don't like the incestuous undertones in any series out there. And I know that this is a structure for anime, so maybe Japan has a limitation of what things are like there. Who's to say? But I do not like this incestuous thing at all, though. It's also worth pointing out that Mei Ling, while she does get better a little later on and she does appear later on in the series, I could not care less if Lee with Sharon to actually reject this girl. Like, girl, I hate to be this blunt to you, but he's not into you. Get over it. And honestly, while she does appear later on in the series, she does get better, but it feels like a little too late for me. Seriously, in the English dub of the Animax, she literally says that, "Oh, you're my bride," or some shit like that. Again, Mei Ling, I get that you love your cousin and all, but I don't think he loves you like that. Just saying. And it's worth pointing out to me that, yeah, this series has a lot of things going for it as is, though. So you might be thinking to yourself, what are the cards for? Well, honestly, the cards themselves were really known to have these here powers and all stuff like that. It's also revealed that later on in the series, we do get to see a little bit of Claw Reed, who I'm not going to say too much because maybe I'll do a video on Holic in October because of supernatural stuff, though. We'll have to see. But Claw Reed was already dead in the series when he was actually coming across on that. I know, right? Pretty shocking. Again, go back to what I said earlier. But it's worth pointing out that I really can't further stress on what I think about this instead myself, though, because Ariel, the character who we'll be going up to later on, though, is the one who's sort of behind this here mischief all the time, though. Yeah, I'm not going to read too much into Ariel, but the gist of it is that he usually returns almost every episode later on, just so he can mess with Sakura a little bit, though. And Sharon, despite being a bit impulsive, actually does care for her Sakura in a lot of ways, though. You may not think it because at first glance he doesn't really want to show his true feelings, but when Ariel does do something like this, it's worth pointing out that he just does this for old mischief while Sharon is doing everything he can to help out Sakura before it's too late, though. And speaking of which, though, I think this is actually one of the few times I've seen a little kid character in a Magical Girl series that does something to help out older heroes, but still causing mischief in the process. That goes to show you how much it would have been, though. And I'd be hit or miss if I didn't say this, but I'd rather take Ariel as a mischievous character, if anything, to judge by. Yeah, I know some people may think I'm reading too much into it, but really, I don't really think there's anything much to it, though. So now that you know most of what happens in the characters, what about the animation? Well, surprisingly enough, I didn't know who animated this until I started looking it up after the credits roll. And believe it or not, this was animated by Studio Madhouse. Yes, that's Studio Madhouse. As in the people who gave us Hunter x Hunter, One Punch Man, Pet Shop of Horrors, Paradise Kids, and so many others that I could fill a whole paragraph with. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, I watch a lot of stuff with Studio Madhouse involved. Goes to show you how where that can be at times. Though it's worth pointing out that while writing this here episode, I really feel like I'm kind of nostalgic for watching Sakura a few years ago. Now I admit, yes, it's only been 2 years since I've seen this series, but I think I've went through hell when trying to watch this series in its original format. Let's put it this way, whenever I do watch magical girl shows or anything for a female demographic audience, I normally get hell when I try to watch something like this, though. I don't know what it is, though. Maybe it's the fact that I'm trying to watch something that's aimed at me, which is either for girls or women to watch, or the fact that maybe it's because I'm just left wondering why did I get yelled at all the time. Because, like it or not, I think this show would be the one I would watch as a kid, though. It did air on other places like Cartoon Network, but considering that I'm not a 90s kid, and they probably have had the other dub following than that, though, I'm not gonna press feed on that. One thing I will say, though, within the series' favor, though, is that there are a bunch of things in the series that I do love, but there is something else I could say. I can definitely tell you with confidence that this series, despite being cutesy and somewhat dark in a few places, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably not gonna appeal to everyone when it comes to filler. Yeah, the original series, like I said, I've only seen that. The filler episodes, those were on there. It was, well, to say the very least, it was 35% filler. About 30 episodes in total were reported filler. So mathematically speaking, if you do the math just to see where that's going for, that's about a total of 37 canon episodes. And I really feel pretty bad that this had to be as long as it could, though. But like I said, I think 52 cards, if anything, that serves a lot more conflict of what it is, though. Yeah, there were some episodes that kind of bugged me, like, say, hey, for example, where there's one that's called about the elevator episode, which Kiro somehow sees another little mascot character who, for some reason, he thinks that he's some kind of other animals, despite the fact that Kiro, I know you're probably kind of dense in this episode, but what the hell? This character was literally someone that I could not fathom. Oh wait, that's not the elevator episode. Yeah, that episode was basically something else, though. But yeah, every episode has Sakura and the whatever they say for the episode is, which I don't mind as much as I think so, because let's be honest, anyone with a titular character role usually has their own focus, though. I gotta be honest, though, aside from having that, though, there's nothing really I could say that's anything wrong with this series. Cardcaptor Sakura is a fine series by any means, though. It's not gonna be worldwide, like say what it was for Madoka Magica, as in being dark and everything. But if anything, though, the cutesy appearances can fool you fools at first glance, if anything to judge by, though. I mean, let's be honest, though. I think all of us need something cute and while still having the dark moments here and there. Next time, we're going to take a look at another Magical Girl series that's made by Clamp, but one that seems like a rewrite from another one of their series. I'll tell you what it is next time. Until then, guys, thank you all so much for listening to this Magical Girl podcast, and I'll see you all next time. See ya!